Hey everyone, it is Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you. Now, we're going to talk today about we're going to review today the Corsair Frame 4000 series set of cases. Now, I know there are reviews live, but the ones to come to the UK were a bit delayed. I don't know whether the boat got lost or whether it turned to a submarine or something for a little while, but we have got ours a little bit late, which is quite sad really, because the case itself actually offers an incredible amount of options, and it really is the sort of case that you are going to grow into and grow with, and you will be able to make it your own on a level that we haven't seen for quite some time. The other side of it is, which was quite shocking for me in the grand scheme of things, is the base model without fans is under 80 GBP. And the model which I have here today with 3 ARGB fans in the front is under £100. So the pricing on it is incredibly aggressive, but it still delivers so many options and thoughtful additions and ways that you can customize it and make it your own. It's honestly, it's probably, I'm going to say it really early on in the video, this is one of the probably the most exciting cases that Corsair have launched for a long time, and it definitely is one of the first times in an awful long time I actually think this is what I would genuinely call a Corsair case, because some of the things that they've launched recently, or previously we should say, have been a bit weak tea. They've just not been that great. Whereas this you're going to need to get comfortable for, and let's find out why. So as always, we start at the top and at the front. No switches or anything here though. There is a small 4000 icon just hidden there that you can see for us to all to have a look at. But if I was to not kick the tripod, that would be a great start. Ever the professional, Thomas. But we can come round the back, undo the 2 thumb screws, which do have the little yellow rubber washers on them to make it obviously more Corsair. We do get a chance to have a look at the pattern on the roof. Now, when we pop the top panel off, you can see we have this connector here and this connector here, or I say connector, but there's a screw there, and effectively what you can do is loosen the screw off a little bit, and then this whole panel can move across, and that means you can have 120s, 140s or 160, A160 in the roof, just by moving this. If you don't want it in there at all and you don't want roof fans, you could simply just remove it and have it completely open. But this does give you a level of flexibility, and it kind of, I'm going to assume, it's cheaper for them to make as well. And I do not mean that in a bad or a detrimental way, but something I do want to draw your attention to while we're here is something really small, and that's just that curve on the outside of the case. It isn't a completely square top, and the curve is just a really nice design touch, and it does just make it feel a lot more expensive than it actually is. Now onto the front itself. Really kind of familiar design for Corsair, with the framing around the outside, although I don't think the framing is why they called it the frame, but anyway, and then a very easily removable front panel. Now you'll see there's no dust filtering on this, but there is some underneath. But let's take a look at this front panel. So you can see the meshing, but what you can't see from that angle is it is actually raised out of the front. And that means that you get up to 12% more airflow through this mesh than you would have done if it was just the normal stamped pattern and it being flat. The mesh panel here, again, magnetic, removes really easily, nice fine dust filtering. And then what we can see on the inside is the 3 RS fans. Now I'm going to show you the box because I do have some other RS fans in there just in case you want to match them up. These are the ones, they're ARGB, they're not link. They are daisy chainable, and I have fitted 2 other fans into the case. So the front fans come with the case if you get the ARGB model. I've fitted the other 2. But what you can see is you've got the adjustable legs here, and again you can just move them in and out as you so please. You can also see that you've got the mounts here to be able to actually screw the fans onto them. It's a really simple but quite a nice approach because it's very clean and very airy, because you haven't got a plethora of stamps there for the all of the fans to screw into. So it's a really nice approach. Now, one of the things I do want to say as I clip the front back on is down at the bottom you can see here that you've got your power switch which will light up, and then you've got your 2 USBs and then a USB-C and a headphone slot. Now this is all technically part of where things say that you can customize it. So this could be upgradable at a later date for an audiophile front end with a better headphone jack, for example, or you could put loads more USBs on. Now they say you could do this. There isn't anything available at the moment, but they're hinting that this is kind of coming. So if you buy into it early, you're going to be an early adopter. Now I'm going to say from the get-go, I think that they should have had stuff available at launch for me to show you options, rather than me trying to sell you snake oil, because they say it's possible, but they haven't really done it very much. And I think that's a bit of a shame really, because the idea of it and the concept sounds amazing. So I really do hope they follow it through. Round the back, very familiar layout. We've got room for 140 and 120mm fan at the back with some adjustment. You can see I've not got a rear I/O clipped in. I can't remember where I lost that, but I've been using this motherboard for a long time, many years in fact. Now you can see the standard layout for your graphics card or your expansion slots, whatever you want to call it, but it is actually rotatable, so you can use it as a vertical layout as well, which is a really nice touch. There's also a little slot here for the link hub, so that you can link stuff outside of your case, and that's all pre-made in there. You can see that we've got, well, we'll talk about the clips and stuff when we get to the inside. But the power supply was a really nice touch, because you do have the standard screws that you can fit in, but it also had thumb screws. So I've not used any normal screws to screw my power supply in. I have just used the ones that came on the back panel, and it's there. It works fine. Yes, I probably would have wanted to have put more screws in, but I just wanted to show you that you didn't have to. Now, when we come around the back, standard kind of back panel, you can see the familiar pattern for the meshing down the front, and effectively with the meshing down the front there is several things, but we could fit a bracket in should we want to, and by fitting that bracket it means that we can have a side fan mount or radiator mount, however you would want to spec it up. Now when we are looking around the back, there are a plethora of clips and Velcro tabs everywhere. There's lots of places for you to do tie downs, which will be great if you do go down the Corsair link avenue. There are also, if you have a look, lots of little clips and nooks where you can slide your cables behind as well. Now when I do say slide your cables behind, that motherboard tray is removable. Now also there's a 3D printed file out there for you, so if you wanted to make your own motherboard tray, let's say you want to make it out of, they actually say in the reviewer's guide, billet aluminium, but I'm going to say maybe you wanted to use carbon fibre. Maybe you wanted to get really hunky-dunky with it, and you're like, oh, I think I could make mine out of glass. Now, I'm not sure how you'd go about it with the glass. Maybe that was a bad term, because now I'm into the whole how am I going to do it, because that would actually be really sick. But you could easily, if you wanted to, do it out of clear acrylic and have it laser cut, for example. That would probably be easier. Now I really want to do glass. But the options are there, so you can actually remove the motherboard tray for one, but you can replace it. There are files there for you to be able to create your own. It is a basic flat file, but then if you wanted to put a cutout in it for your CPU cooler and you wanted to make it the ROG Eye, then you really could do. If you just wanted to do it so that you had your name for your system in it, you could do. There's an awful lot of options, and it's really going to come down to your own creativity. Now with the power supply in the bottom, I always use the same kit, but One of the things I would say is this rig really kind of does deserve something like especially where it's white, the white shift power supply, and that the connectors come out the side, which would mean you'd be able to keep your cables all nice and tight. And where this motherboard tray does have the cutouts on it for Project Zero and Asus BTF, it would mean you'd be able to get incredibly intricate with how tidy you ended up making your cables. I actually think with this level of customization, with a Swift, I always call it Swift and it's Shift, but if you had a Swift power supply and BTF or Project Zero, I actually would want much shorter custom cables and have them all super tidily routed. And if you did like the idea of that, then you just need to go and use the cable mod configurator, and those boys will be able to sort you out. Yes, I did say cable mod because I love the boys, and that's who I get to do all of mine. So like I said, there are Velcro tips and everything everywhere. This is just a cover to make things nice, but you could swap this out for a fan stroke radiator mount if you wanted. Moving round to the business side, and I'm probably going to surprise you by starting at the bottom, because down here there is this panel that you can easily remove. You can see it's got the meshing in it, and there is a plastic cover inside that you can remove, that you didn't even know it was in there, if you wanted this to be part of your airflow plans, because there are 220mm fan mounts just here on the power supply cover, so you can turn this into an active intake. Now when the and it is kind of like a what would the word be, Tom? Frosted plastic cover. Now I would call this plasticard, but that's in there. You don't even really know it's there, but it's going to stop dust if you didn't like it. But what we can also do, and this comes in the package, is we can fit this one, and you can see that it takes on a completely different kind of look. But the reason why I wanted to show you this, other than the fact it does come with it, is this is plasticard. It's plastic, it's flexible, it's just like a thin piece of cardboard. But you can buy plasticard on eBay. So if you wanted, and you decided that you wanted to fit some red in there so that you had a different accent colour, you really could do. And this, the fact that they give you an option of this with an £80 case, I actually think fair play to them, because it does really start to show that they're thinking about things differently, and it really does excite me that Corsair are waking up and coming out of a hibernation period and giving you guys options and kind of egging you on to start customizing and thinking about your cases differently. And that sort of thing you could do in no time. Like, that could be less than half an hour for you to be able to haha! Do you know what? It's not that difficult, but I've struggled with taking that door panel off every time, and I'm going to leave that in the edit as well, because once you do get the knack of it, it's okay. But there are two pops here, which pins pop into it, and you kind of have to release that, and I always get a bit nervous about yanking it off and then breaking it, yanking it off. That's what she said. Now, down the front side here, you can see the cable cover. That also you can remove if you want, and you can fit a radiator in the side. You can get a radiator in the front if you want, and a radiator in the roof. There is room, dependent on the size of your end tanks and that sort of thing. Fitting a radiator in the front and in the side might be a stretch too far, but I think you're probably just going to want to go one or the other anyway. The other thing that I did want to show you is this support mount for longer graphics cards. Now you can see that my graphics card, the fact that it is an old aging 980, why do I still use a 980? Because it means that when we do the testing later on, everything is fair and we have lots of other cases to be able to compare to. But my one's not quite long enough, but you can obviously remove that. If you don't want it there, you can just unscrew it and it will come off. The power supply cover, as I've said, does have meshing in the bottom so that you can fit fans. I think that is a really lovely touch. There are also 3D files so that you can make a new power supply cover if you want. I do think that they need to have an extra cover so that you can cover this up. I actually think this is something that should have come with the case personally, because I hate this no man's land area here, and it is vast, which means obviously you can fit you've got multiple configurations there for big radiator in the side, big radiator in the front, that sort of thing. But many case and fan, radiator and fan options, side, front, top. You can see that there is a little Corsair logo just up here, and that's just such a nice touch. There is a complete lack of grommets on this case. There are none anywhere. There are places that you can poke cables through, but I do believe we should have had some rubber grommets going on down the bottom here, and definitely up the top as well. But again, you could get creative with your plastic card. They do say that they've made the case a little bit longer and a little bit wider to be able to help with vertical mount graphics cards, but also if the size of graphics cards, the width of them nowadays is getting ridiculous. This will be able to cope with that, but the width for the vertical mount GPUs as well will no doubt please many of you. I did say I'd leave the pad removal in, but I do want to show you. Once you do get the knack, it is really simple. I've played with too many cases recently, and I made that look a lot more difficult than it was, but that was just user error. And as I can show you, once you do get the knack of it and you don't overthink it, it's more when I try and get it from round the back, and I don't think many of you are going to do that, but thumb on the front, give it a pull, there we go. Give it a pull, he said. Now, so a lot about this case is kind of going to be, is going to depend on how much Corsair really start working on the additional upgrades that you can do, like the different fronts with multiple USBs and stuff. Haven't seen any. I think that's a great idea though. The other side of it is I really do hope that they get behind the 3D printing models and they bring more out rather than letting the end users do it. I do hope that that will be something that they will bring out lots of updates and stuff for us to try, even if it's just something that we want to play around with. You know, just something that we can, on a Saturday afternoon, we might be able to do something. Like, I actually think that there's options for covers around the front and maybe grommets, all of, you know, there's a lot going on. But I really love the fact that it's such good value for money, but it's all the small details that add up, which if you really get your teeth into it and start to play with it and enjoy it, and not just build in it and forget about it, but expand and let it evolve, I think that's really where the value of this comes in. It is also what I would say is a proper old school Corsair case, and it really does make me happy to see them going back to what I would deem as being what they are good at. Because it has been a long time coming, and now I'm going to give them the value for money award on this, because you get an awful lot of case but also an awful lot of options. I was very close to giving them an innovation award as well, but I'm not going to, based purely on the fact I don't think there are enough options for you to customize and do just yet. They're kind of giving you this could be great in the future, but I think they needed to have started off with a little bit more to tease us with to start off with. Like they did say about the audiophile front. Why isn't there one? Why can I not get one where there's lots and lots of USB-A's on the front, for example? Why can't we get one with extra switches? Like, they could have done 3 or 4 options for the front for us to have been able to have wet our teeth with. I also think we need some more from Corsair 3D printing stuff for us to play around with as well. But for a starter, it genuinely does appear that the platform could be amazing. But I genuinely cannot stress enough how happy I am to see a case from Corsair again, that whets my appetite for modding and customization and basically evolving into your case rather than it just being a plain box. The only thing really, in the grand scheme of things, with this case that I didn't particularly like was the daisy chainable fans, because the cables looked horrendous. Would I go link? Probably, but obviously that's quite expensive. But the fact that these are just ARGB and simple means it's going to be a lot easier for you to plug them into your motherboards, and you're only really going to need a fan out cable off of one of your headers to be able to start powering them up anyway. So, a cracking case. Was not what I expected. It has exceeded my expectations, because when it first arrived, I really wasn't very enthusiastic about it at all. But that was based purely on some of the weak tea that they'd launched previously. But they've completely won me over, and this is an absolutely amazing case at an incredible price. And if you're looking to upgrade or build a new system with an RX 9070 at the moment, then this definitely deserves to be on your shortlist. You won't be disappointed.